Welcome everybody to the Flopbuster Movie Show live with Tony and Gabe and now Connor. Connor, thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you for having me. Thrilled to be here. Without my co-host, I finally am unrestricted and unchained.
We don't need other Gabe. That's right. For not coming in the show tonight, we're going back to his old nickname, Other Gabe.
Other Gabe. And you know what? just to keep things exciting, though, because I want to keep you on your toes, I will refuse to answer to Connor. I will go by Gabe so that we can still have the confusion of the two Gabes.
Okay, that's perfect. Gabe and Other Gabe. Other Gabe, thank you for coming on tonight.
In all seriousness, thank you for having me. I'm ready to have some fun.
Julian, how's it going?
First.
Good.
All right. And before Gabe, shows off his Pepsi or whatever, I just want to get the sponsor of the show out the way. It's Jack Daniel's Coca-Cola once again, because it's better than Pepsi. Pepsi doesn't have any endorsements with anybody but Taco Bell, and that's it. Nobody likes Pepsi. America does not run on Pepsi. They run on Coke. So just wanted to get that out the way before Gabe comes in very happy and excited about tonight and shows his Pepsi bottle he's drinking. It's very sad.
I got a liter of cola.
A liter of cola.
A liter of cola.
I like it.
Gabe, how you doing tonight, man?
Good. Listen, I just want to say something real quick, right? We all know Coke is red for Republicans, Pepsi is blue for Democrats. So if you drink Pepsi, you're a liberal. You drink Coke, you are a Republican. You're a conservative Republican.
I don't make the rules. If you drink Mike's, you're a frat boy. So apparently, I'm going back to my roots.
Hey, Mike, I enjoy a good night of Mike's Hard Lemonade once in a while, every so often. It's not my go-to drink, but if it's there, I'm going to drink it. And they're tasty.
Yeah, tasty, keeps you calm. That's all you need.
There's a Modelo Michelada watermelon flavor for the year. Let me tell you, if you see those, like if you see the Modelo Michelada tall boys, get those. They are delicious. There's a pineapple, watermelon, and orange one. I could vouch for pineapple, and I could vouch for watermelon. Those are delicious.
I've heard so much about this. Everybody's into them. Cody, what's up, man? Darkroom Reviews. He's on your side, Gabe. Love it. He loves me some Pepsi.
Pepsi's the best.
You got somebody in your corner. Finally. That's what Gabe's been waiting for. Validation on this whole Pepsi delusion he's been on for the past, 30 years?
Listen, if Coke was so good, why did they have to do new Coke and then be like, oh, I'm sorry, let's bring back Coca-Cola Classic?
Should we talk about how Pepsi had to relabel so many times?
It's just rebranding. It's just rebranding the new Pepsi logo.
Fair enough.
Look at Coke has rebranded. How many times has Coke Zero been called Coke Zero?
Oh, what
Coke
about
Zero
Pepsi
Sugar?
Crystal or Pepsi Blue, Pepsi Max? What the fuck happened to Pepsi Max? Is it still around?
Yes, it is.
Is it around?
For those diabetes people.
All right. So we brought Connor on to talk movies, but it's going to be shenanigans either way. That's the way the show's going to be.
Shenanigans.
We're just gonna have fun with it.
Listen, Julian, RC is the best van soda, and if you grew up around Chicago, RC was like you got that with every pizza that you
every pizza that you order. Yeah,
You went to go get some beefs from the corner store, or whatever. You got RC with it. RC
Royal
is
Crown.
really good.
Nothing better than some RC and a Portillo's beef sandwich, man. Nothing better than that combo.
Oh yeah.
Yep. Get some RC, get 2 slices of pizza, $5. That's the summer meal right there. That's every day.
Damn right.
All right, so we brought Connor on to talk some movies. But real quick, I wanna see if any of you have been watching anything lately. And Connor, I'll start with you. Have you seen anything cool? Anything you've caught up on?
Absolutely not. I hardly have time for anything other than what we watch for the show. So the only movie I've watched recently is our friend Gabe's here pick, American Pie 2, that we're getting ready to cover on the show. But other than that, it's just been SVU and nothing at all.
Fair. What about you, Gabe, besides American Pie 2? Because I know you watched all of them lately, didn't you?
I watched all of them. Dude, listen, my work has been slow this week to the point where I'm watching 5 movies a day. So I saw Renfield on Wednesday at early preview, and then I saw The Pope's Exorcist last night.
Okay, give us your quick thoughts on those, because I know, you've been watching an insane amount of movies.
I have been.
I have not seen either of those. I'm probably going to check out Renfield. I honestly don't know which one. We're going to see one of them tomorrow. But give us your quick thoughts on both.
Renfield, you know what? I can tell you exactly about both of them. And They both kill it as far as Nicolas Cage for Renfield. He's like, you can't keep your eyes off of him during the entire movie. When he's on there, when he's speaking, I just loved him as Dracula. And then Gladiator guy, he was great as the Exorcist, as a priest. Russell Crowe, there we go. Russell Crowe is excellent. I loved Russell Crowe in that movie. I was surprised at what he's doing now. Horror, Exorcist movies. The Pope's Exorcist doesn't add anything to like possession movies. It's just your regular run-of-the-mill possession movie. But it was awesome seeing Russell Crowe riding around in a fucking Vespa drinking whiskey.
That's become a meme already. I've seen a lot of people use the images of that. All right. Well, I guess you can find more of Gabe's thoughts on Renfield and the Pope's Exorcist on the channel in our shorts section. Gabe sends me his shorts, and I get those up every week.
My literal shorts. I send them my shorts so you could take a good whiff of them.
Yeah, they're used, but hey, desperate time, desperate measures. Mario was fantastic. Peaches. Okay, yeah, it was. I had fun with Mario. I thought it was a lot of fun. I thought Bowser, Jack Black. I think that song was totally him. I could tell that he had his handprints all over it. Okay, so I wanted to pick your guys' brain, both of you, on this topic that I've been looking into. Me and Victoria, we were driving the other day, and we were watching the presentation from Warner Brothers. Connor, do you know anything about the whole Warner Brothers situation with like HBO Max and like the whole Warner Brothers Discovery stuff?
Unfortunately, yeah.
Okay.
Zaslav,
yeah. God damn that guy. So the other day they unleashed Max, which drops HBO, even though the tagline is like where you can watch HBO. So why not just call it? I don't know. It's weird. So they unleashed their slate of movies, and it is mostly there's a new Harry Potter television series they're pushing on Max, as well as everything else that has to do with brand and IP and franchise, which is like DC, anything World of Harry Potter, Game of Thrones, Batman, and that's about it. Connor, I'll start with you. Were you ever a fan of Harry Potter? Have you watched any of the movies? And what do you think about Warner Brothers Discovery and their push of brand over originality?
So Harry Potter was something that like my mom read the books to me when I was a kid. So like, as a kid, I was introduced to the books, the movies. When you're a kid, you really are into them. A lot of people are still into them, and nothing against anybody who is. Not really my thing as I got older. Maybe the first one for nostalgia purposes, but it's just not really my thing. Especially getting into the creator. But other than that, like, honestly, this whole move with Max or with Warner Brothers Discovery just shows me the absolute idiots that are trying to run this place now. It's one thing to, first of all, you have like the perfect name with home box office, right? That's HBO, home box office. It makes sense to call it HBO Max. But for some reason, they're just going to call it Max now. And even though they're still going to offer all the same things and then some, they're gonna charge extra and, go with this like free ad-free plus or whatever they're calling it. But with the original content, like, look, here's my thing, right? I'm a big nostalgia guy. Throw some nostalgia at me, throw some properties that we know, but there has to be a balance. And I think when you show everybody that you don't have the ability to balance, they're going to burn out from your content really quickly. Nostalgia loses its touch after a while, and a property as beloved as Harry Potter has the ability to wear off very fast when you're creating new original content off a known IP. So I don't know, man. It worries me, but in a way, I just kind of want them to learn. If it is a mistake, they gotta figure it out.
That's a great take. Gabe, you got anything to add to that?
Yeah, I hate the name. Sort of like on your guys' point, like HBO, that's premiere. Like growing up, yeah. HBO was premiere. Like that's where you went every Saturday, the first Saturday of each month. The new releases from the theaters.
Cinemax was for softcore porn, by the way.
Absolutely, Skinemax. Like Max was always like the redheaded stepchild. Like nobody liked Max until like after 10:30 at night on a weeknight when you got all the good, Cinemax stuff. Just going by Max, it's just terrible. And I agree. Like I think they should be promoting more original content. Warner Brothers should. But I think Warner Brothers is just sitting back on its laurels at this point, saying, look at all these IPs that we have. We're going to refresh all these. We're going to do Harry Potter again and a TV show now. So that's what, like 10 seasons? How many books are there? I don't know. I've never read Harry Potter.
I just want to point out, I love the books. My uncle got me into the books. The movies were such a special place because in that moment, it was all of that was happening at once, right? Like this is like 2001. You have like, I don't know, Shrek, the new Star Wars trilogy, Harry Potter.
Yeah.
Those, when I think big blockbusters of that time around 2001, Lord of the Rings, obviously. I think of those movies, and I love the Harry Potter movies, especially those early ones, because I relate to them as a kid, because that's what I think of. I think of the Game Boy era, GameCube, all the nostalgia, the McDonald's tie-ins and whatnot. I don't know if Harry Potter can sustain itself in today's age, past that 10 season, or if they're going to go a full 10 seasons or whatever it is, or 7, 8 seasons. I don't know if people will stick around other than the initial first 2 seasons of having that nostalgia. And also, we have the perfect adaptations of those books, regardless of J.K. Rowling and the things she's gotten herself into. They did a great job with those movies. And Daniel Radcliffe, and you think of Emma Watson, everybody involved in those movies. I can't think of other actors taking on those roles. When we had 10 years of those actors taking those roles, to me, it's like those movies were like a TV show. They were this big epic TV show that you saw in theaters. And it's interesting that we even like look at Fantastic Beasts, for example. Nobody wants to go see those movies. They like didn't do that well. Nobody gave a shit past the initial franchise and those actors that we fell in love with. But also that shows me that Warner Brothers at this point, and I'm not going to even call it Warner Brothers. I'm just going to call it Discovery, because David Zaslav is the head of Discovery, which now owns Warner Brothers. They only care about home improvement bullshit and whatever is going to make them money, which Harry Potter, they know it's going to at least produce something. And I think it's scary that Warner Brothers was the template for adult filmmaker-driven projects. And if you look at the history of Warner Brothers, it's like Casablanca, it's like a bunch of movies from the 40s and 50s and the 60s. And you think of in the 90s, all the great dramas that came out. And this year alone, it's only, I think, Barbie, Barbie, Dune, Aquaman, Blue Beetle, and like that's it. Those are the and The Flash. Those are their movies that they're dropping this year. They're also like really low on money too. So Max needs to be this huge hit, and they need to push it really hard, or they're gonna fail. And I have a feeling they will.
They're not gonna hit.
I don't think it's gonna hit. And they took away a lot of things that people liked about HBO. Look at us. We sound like a bunch of haters. We sound like a certain podcast that we know. I feel like it's fair.
That's all, folks.
I think it's fair because I want to piggyback off what Connor said. I am a victim of falling for the nostalgia bug too.
Yeah.
And I think you put it perfectly. And Gabe, I know you are too. We love to talk shit about originality, this and that. And yeah, of course, we'll go see like indie films or A24 dramas. But then we're like, oh yeah, Marvel sucks. But then they go, oh well, there's a new Blade movie coming. Oh, I want to see Blade. It's like there's Michael Keaton's in The Flash. Oh fuck, well I thought I was tired of superhero movies. Now I want to go see it. But there needs to be a balance. And I think Universal, for example, I've mentioned this like a dozen times. They're the perfect balance of big IPs and global franchises like The Fast and the Furious and smaller, more filmmaker-driven movies. Fucking Megan is. I mean, technically, it is. It's this original horror film, or even Cocaine Bear in a way. These are smaller movies that they created to become hits, and even their comedies that they have coming out. And I think Warner needs to find that balance, or this is going to crash and burn, much like how Disney is right now. And I think Disney is really figuring out that they can't just rely on nostalgia. And they really do need to push theatrical films, new original ideas, and not just the same old thing over and over and over again. But I just wanted to pick both of your brains on that subject because it's much talked about.
This is the type of conversation you have about Hollywood, not the other way around. Just saying, is you gotta find, like you said, the balance between IPs and original content, because what happens with original content is going to become an IP later on the road if it's successful. Look at John Wick, right? It came from nowhere.
Like what if they make a Schindler's List trilogy? Schindler's List 2 and 3.
It could happen.
It'd be like the Taken movies.
Well, I'll say too, like, and if I could, you don't even actually have to use current IPs to strike a balance of nostalgia and current originality. I think A24 is a perfect example of a studio that has been able to do both with like movies like X and Pearl, which are like movies that are new and original and fresh, but they have this familiarity to them. When you watch Pearl, you're like, why do I keep thinking of The Wizard of Oz? And when you watch X, you're like, man, I just keep thinking of Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And it gives you that little sense of nostalgia of these movies you've watched that make you feel the same way. But it presents something new and fun and original. And, even though these IPs are great, and don't get me wrong, I'm a slut for some good nostalgia with IPs, you don't just need that to strike a balance. And I hope HBO will learn that as like Universal, like you said, has been killing it with that stuff. So fingers crossed, but not optimistic.
Right. I mean, there's a whole bunch of other studios. I mean, Sony is doing their thing with was it Missing and Searching? They did the Pope's Exorcist.
Yeah, I was about to say they have that.
And they have the Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse movie coming out. So like all these studios are growing and they're learning sort of what the people want. And I feel like HBO Discovery is just taking a step back and like, you know what? Here's our stream content. Stream more of our stuff. And everybody's like, no, we want to go back to the theaters. We want to go back somewhere. We don't want to just sit at home anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's true. And I think even Paramount, I mean, I keep forgetting to mention Paramount.
Up, yeah.
Yeah, they had a few hits last year that were just quietly big. I mean, besides Top Gun. Top Gun was huge. But they had The Lost City. They had, trying to think, they had Scream. They had Scream, which is obviously a franchise film, but it's a small franchise film. And it still made a lot of money. It feels somewhat fresh and original for a movie that's like six entries in. So I guess now 6 entries in. Then it would have been 5. But it felt like they were
for Scream
at that point in 2022. It would have been 5, and then now 6. But it feels like Warner is stuck in 2020 mode, where we were all inside and looking for things to watch because we had so much time on our hands, and everybody just moved on from that point, and they want to get back to the theaters and they want to see new and exciting things. Also, since we're on hater mode right now, you know who's the worst actress of all time? Brie Larson. No, I'm just playing.
Oh shit!
Can you imagine? Julian says, I heard more video game shows are in talks with the success of The Last of Us. I wouldn't doubt it. I think with the success of The Last of Us and Mario, we're probably going to see a lot of video game movies on the way. I think that's the next big thing. I think at this point, that's going to be the next big thing.
I agree.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we see Metroid, if we see...
Dude, I'll be down for like a Madden video game movie.
How would they do a Madden movie?
Dude, the exact same way they did Air and the way that they did Tetris, how the first Madden came out.
Is it about fucking brain injury? Like I don't.
Well, I mean, like I never thought they'd be able to make a movie out of Tetris, but here we are, seeing a trailer drop for Tetris, and it looks like this like dramatic retelling of the creation.
So I saw Tetris. I saw Tetris the other day. I'm not an Apple guy. I sold somebody's Apple TV login.
Don't lie. You pay for Apple TV.
I'm just admitting to crimes on stream right now.
You pay for Apple TV. Gabe has this weird hate on for specific brands. He hates Coca-Cola. He hates Apple TV. I'm trying to think of other things he'll just randomly hate on. There's like a condiment you hate too, right? Is it pickles?
I hate pickles.
It's like random bullshit. It's like things that normal people don't even think about who come out and go, I fucking hate this.
People think about pickles all the fucking time when they're ordering a fucking hamburger. Hey, you know what? Hold the pickles.
I never think about that. I just eat the burger the way it comes.
Fuck that. I don't want no fucking pickle juice on my burger.
What was your thought? What were you going to say? Oh, you saw Tetris.
Saw Tetris. They had an amazing car chase sequence in Tetris. I was just like riveted. It was good.
I forgot that was even out. Okay. Yeah. You guys said that you had seen that.
It's obvious. Yeah. It's like Air. The Jordan, the Nike Jordan deal. It's sort of like along the same lines, but they had a nice car chase. I was like, oh, it keeps you interested. It keeps you riveted, actually, how Tetris started. So they could do that with a Madden movie. Like, how did Madden? How did they come into agreement with John Madden?
Could be.
I don't see how you do a Madden movie. I don't see how you do a Madden movie. I just don't. I don't see it. Right. Maybe they'll do a NBA 2K movie.
Maybe.
Okay, so I wanted to ask you guys. I'm gonna quickly run down the old school way. A couple of things.
No, don't run down the old school way.
No.
Don't go into your notes. Don't go into your notes.
No, I have one note. I have two actually. I have three. I have three notes. Three notes. That's it.
Oh man.
Have either of you seen the trailer for the film? Talk to me.
I have not. No.
We were talking about A24, new A24 horror movies. I think this is the next A24 hit.
Oh, I just saw their trailer yesterday. They played it in front of the Pope's Exorcist. That fucking creepy ass arm. It was a creepy ass.
Yes,
arm.
It is a Australian horror film. These YouTuber brothers who made like a bunch of like hit videos online, like maybe 7 or 8 years ago. They made a new horror film. It's been praised nonstop at all these festivals, and it's essentially about young TikTokers in Australia, Gen Z kids who are looking for clout online, and they do this through live streaming themselves talking to the dead. And this leads to something going completely south. And I think when it comes to the horror outings this year, I'm really excited for that, but I can't think of many other original horror films that we're getting besides that, and maybe Maxine, if Maxine comes out this year too, and then the Pope's Exorcist, which you saw, Gabe. But
yes.
Are there any horror films that you're excited for, Connor, that are coming out this year?
Not original works. Even the Pope's Exorcist, like I saw a trailer and was like, oh, that looks okay. Like Franco Nero's in it. I'm a big Franco Nero guy, so I was like, maybe. But it's just Evil Dead Rise. Like, I don't know that I've been that excited for a horror movie in a long time. I think Halloween 2018 was the last time that happened. Right. And so maybe Pearl. I was excited for Pearl, but I didn't really know I was going to get what I ended up getting from Pearl. So yeah, this is going to be a great experience, I think.
So real quick, what are your thoughts on Halloween Ends? I don't think we ever even asked you. I don't think we've ever even gotten a full discussion out of you with that.
I don't think so. No. I hated it so much. It is it's at the bottom of my Halloween ranking. Dead last.
Dead last?
Dead last. Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah, dead last.
Oh man.
See, here's the thing, right? So like it happened at like a perfect wave, right? Because around that time we had our Halloween special for our show, and on our Patreon we covered Halloween 6 and Halloween Resurrection, and then Victoria brought us H20, and those were previously the 3 films at the bottom of my ranking. But when I learned that I could get enjoyment out of Resurrection and I can't get any enjoyment out of Halloween Kills, or Halloween Ends, I'm sorry. Then yeah, that's where we landed. Kills I thought was okay, but not great. Ends, it was just, I mean, I can't defend it. I really can't.
So you're not chilling with Corey?
Not chilling with Corey. My co-host
dog,
is. Gabe does enjoy it. He says he enjoys it each time that he.
That's interesting. And I saw that because he posted that in Letterboxd. Because I remember when I first came out of it, he had texted me and he's like, "You actually like this movie?" And I was like, "Yeah." And me and him talked about it, and he sounded so frustrated with it. And now he's a believer. I saw.
You're texting with another Gabe?
Yes. From time to time on Twitter, Gabe will message me, and it's nice. It's nice.
Betrayal.
When we went out for drinks, and that's why I'm so excited. If we ever do a live show together or get together with Connor, when I got with Gabe at we went to a Blockbuster pop-up bar. There's that initial, like, with your internet friends, you're like, I don't know how, like, what if we don't vibe in person? It's almost like a date, right? It's like it's a date in a way, man.
Yeah.
You know what? You're absolutely right, because when I first met you, we went out to this big thing downtown Chicago, and I was just like, it was weird. I was walking up and I saw you from a distance. I was like, well, I know that's Tony. I'm like, do I go in for like a handshake?
Yeah.
Or do you do like the man hug? Do I do like the Mexican nod? Like,
I don't even remember what we did.
It was just like, it was very awkward, and it's just like a little bit of silence, even though I'm like, we're messaging and shit. Like, back and forth so fast, and I was like, in person, you're just like, what do I do?
Yeah,
Like,
that's how it was with me and Gabe. Well, we were waiting in line for a drink, and then as soon as we went to our seat, we start talking, and then it's just like we could have been there for like 3 more hours, and from bullshit, from Halloween Ends to Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, like anything, and like movies and like stuff that he's worked on, and to me, that's always exciting when we meet people in person, and it's just as awesome as it is on camera. And I had a ton of fun with that. And Mike Jones, yes, we will accept call-ins, man.
So,
of course.
With that, right, the first person to call in, right, I'm gonna send them this screen post.
Mia, what's up?
What's going on, Mia? Mia, you better. Here. I'm calling this out right now. Everybody who's in here, this is just the people who I'm speaking to right now. So please don't think this is weird. But you two and Mia, I'm expecting to see all of you in January in Atlanta for Days of the Dead, because I'm gonna try to get my tickets
in January.
You guys try to get there. I will pay for your hotel.
Of 2024?
We're going to ATL.
Yeah, I'll go to ATL.
Come down to the ATL. I'm like 2 hours away. If you want to drive 2 hours, you can stay around here. If not, I'll meet you in the city. I don't care. One day, make it a Saturday. I'll also be in Chicago sometime this summer. So we gotta try something.
We gotta do Chicago. We gotta do ATL. We'll get other Gabe on there as well. Everybody, we gotta do a live show.
You know what? My stepsister lives in ATL.
Really?
She does. She's like she works for the city. She's like some city planner or whatever.
Hey man, I mean, let's do it up. Big live show, not that bad, in Flopbuster mega show.
It'll be an awesome, fun time. What are we? Oh yeah, Mike Jones. Yeah, call us in, man. Call Gabe's number. He'll give you that poster.
I will actually. It's actually what I'm gonna be doing in a moment. I'm gonna post the number in the chats. Whoever calls it first, and you tell us what's your favorite. I don't know. What's your favorite comedy of all time?
Let's get a secret admirer, like one of Gabe's secret admirers.
Well, if it's a scary movie, shouldn't you ask them what their favorite scary movie is?
Okay, I could go with that. What's your favorite scary movie?
Yeah. Also, ask them, do you think it's plausible for Matthew Lillard to survive in these Scream movies?
Hot topic.
Oh my god! You know what I don't understand about that is why is everybody demanding it? So what if we get it and you know exactly what's going to happen? Is that what you want? Like, wouldn't you want something that you wouldn't be able to expect? Because that's
just people love Matthew Lillard, man. It's like the guy is like a drug. Everybody wants him. They want the Scooby-Doo cast coming back because of him. They want him back in Scream. They just want Matthew Lillard everywhere.
Drew Barrymore's trying to come back. Come on.
They probably want SLC Punk too at this rate, man. They want everything. Listen,
all right, Matthew, he didn't like my pitch for the Shaggy spinoff, so don't pitch him about Scooby-Doo. All right, he's not a true fan, because when I said imagine Logan, we shoot this black and white, but it's this hard-boiled Mad Max style apocalyptic film. It's a drama. We put some Johnny Cash in there, and you're going out on a revenge mission for the death of Scooby-Doo. And he looked at me and his jaw dropped, and he said, "That's a terrible idea."
Hey, I mean, I'd want to see it. So
other than that, he was a great guy, though. He was
your Matthew Lillard.
Nice. And I didn't have to wait in line to meet him. It was at one of those after party things.
Oh, nice.
I just went up to him and I said, "Imagine this," and he listened.
Oh man!
But he was a super cool guy for sure. What else were we going to talk about? Okay, what do you think of the whole Mia Goth thing, man? Mia Goth and Blade.
Oh, I'm excited for that. I think she's a great actress. I think she's going to add. I think just the way that she plays and the characters that she plays, she's probably going to be on the bad side. She's probably going to be a vampire.
I think she's going to be a bad guy for sure.
For sure, right? Also, I'm sort of like glad that she's getting all this work for her. I'm like,
me too.
I'm glad for her.
Yeah.
Somebody needs to make the money out of that relationship between her and what's his face?
He's got a new movie. He's got a new movie coming out. He's in the new Francis Ford Coppola movie, and that costs like an insane amount of money to make.
He did his apology tour. They're gonna give him another shot for like the 4th time.
that guy's gotten so many chances, like a ridiculous amount of chances.
He's like, listen, he's a decent, good actor when he wants to be.
I think he's an insanely good actor. I
Yeah.
think he's just a dude that's had an insanely troubled life, and he's made a bunch of terrible mistakes. Do I think he deserves a second chance or like a fifth chance? Not really. No. I'm happy for his wife though. I think Mia Goth rules, and I'm excited for Blade. What about you, Connor? Do you like the first Blade movies? Have you seen them?
Yes, I have. I grew up, so it's funny. When I was growing up, I had all three Blade movies on DVD in my household, but weirdly enough, the one that my parents were more comfortable with me watching was the third one. So I grew up on Blade Trinity. But as I got older, I appreciated the other ones like way more. And of course, like Blade Trinity is not a very good movie. I love those movies. I was really excited to hear this one was going to happen. And I like the casting of Blade so far. I think that's going to turn out well. But Mia Goth, like, I think this is the perfect opportunity for her to like really have like a gigantic leap up in her roles.
I agree.
Because this is like a good transition project. Blade has always kind of been on the fence of like horror and action superhero stuff. So
Yep.
I think this is the perfect way to get her like really into the mainstream again after, Cure for Wellness just totally didn't do what it was meant to do.
Gore Verbinski. He's crazy.
Yeah.
He's a crazy guy. My favorite Gore movie is actually Mouse.
And then I saw comments about how she people like hated that she's gonna go do Marvel because she should just stick to independent movies. And I feel like, like as an actor, yeah, it's cool. You get fed on independent movies, right? That's your craft, right? But you should also try to get mainstream commercial movies. Like it's gonna feed you. That's money in your bank right there.
She's done her art, make your money and make it well. And that doesn't stop her from doing independent stuff either. I mean, look at that. There was a period of time where James Franco was making a ton of money and he still would take every once in a while, jump into a little indie film.
Yeah, he would do like at least 5 indies a year.
Yeah.
I would say when he was really into it. Did you guys know, you brought up Blade Trinity. Did you know Wesley Snipes, all of Blade Trinity, he shoots his scenes separately from the entire cast.
Yes, I did. Which is insane.
It's crazy. Which is like it's a weird thing that I feel like doesn't happen as often. But I always find it fascinating when an actor hates a movie so much that they do not want to shoot the rest of the cast at all.
That whole movie is super interesting when you look back at it because first of all, you got Triple H doing God knows what. I mean, he's not acting, so I don't know what he's doing.
He's in that.
You have what's her name, Parker Posey, just like doing her best villain impression.
Right.
Ryan Reynolds is auditioning for Deadpool in the movie, and then Wesley Snipes does not want to be there. And Jessica Biel, I think, is the only one that's like really doing what she's supposed to do. Which is, and that's look, no issue on Ryan Reynolds just trying to be Deadpool. Good for him. It worked out good for him. But
isn't it weird that movie on paper sounds awesome? Like if you never were to see that movie and I described it to you, it would sound insanely cool.
Right. And honestly, like some of those things that I mentioned are not bad parts of the movie. Ultimately, you still have Dominic Purcell as Dracula, which is the worst part of the movie, and Triple H is not good himself. So.
And that movie's also poorly shot, poorly edited.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And like a huge step down when you had the King Guillermo del Toro do his thing. Also, Mia Goth is in the Guillermo del Toro Frankenstein movie.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that's the thing that's happening. Yeah.
So apparently I can't write the number in.
Oh, I could write the number in.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I could write that number in. Actually, I think I have a banner of the number. Is this the number, Gabe?
No.
Is it a new number?
Yeah, yes.
Okay, what is the new number?
It is 773-599-0481.
0481. All right. Let's see if our boy Kyle called in. I'm going to go ahead and add that banner.
I almost spit out my drink there. Ooh.
There we go.
Hold on, you got it wrong.
Oh, did I put too many nines?
Yeah, it's 0481.
Oh, fuck. Okay, wait. 773.
Some poor guy's got 2 calls
599
so far.
0481.
Yes.
Is that it? Please tell me that's it. At that point.
What?
It's not coming up.
It's not coming up.
There we go.
There we go. I was like, what?
59904. Yeah, that's it.
Perfect. There we go.
Yeah, I tried to put it in. I tried to put it in the chat, saying it wouldn't work.
Eventually, we're gonna have to talk about Shia too. That's our Flopbuster pick of the week, man.
Transformers
2, Revenge of the Fallen. Which we kind of briefly, I feel like, no, we talked about the first one a little bit last time you were on, Connor, right? Yeah. When we did the blockbusters. Yeah.
Yeah, my co-host brought that the first one up, I think.
Shocking pick from him.
Very.
I never would have expected him to pick that.
I did not expect it. I was waiting for this Gabe to pick it.
Yes.
And I was waiting for it. And he even mentioned it. He was like, well, you're going to hear about Michael Bay from me coming up. And I was like, all right, here we go. Transformers is coming. And then my Gabe had to steal the thunder.
Listen, I wanted to do it, but I mean, we talked about it already. And I was like, well, let's just pick something else. So,
that's why he's other Gabe,
American Pie 2.
American Pie 2, exactly.
Which American Pie 2, one of the best hangout movies of all time, Gabe.
Is it though?
One of the best hangout movies of all time.
I would say Friday is more of a hangout.
I would say American Pie 2 is more of a hangout movie than American Pie 1.
I would agree.
At that point, you lose any kind of plot, any kind of story, any kind of character growth, and it's just about these characters getting laid. But again. Which Friday we just watched? Me and you both rewatched Friday, like a couple minutes ago. Yeah, unintentionally. Yeah, but Victoria had never seen Friday. She's always like seen me watch it in the background or something.
What do you think about it?
She laughed the whole time. She thought it was hilarious. She thought it was really, really good. She enjoyed it. To me, it's just that movie's such a comfort movie where I could throw it on and know every line, every quote, and it plays well each and every time.
Nice. So nobody's called yet. I don't know if that number works or not, but there's no call yet. So whatevs. I guess I'm keeping the poster.
Maybe we'll just call yourself.
Maybe.
I can call in with an accent if you really want me to.
You should.
I'll be right back, guys.
I'll be right back.
What was the next thing we were going to talk about? I don't know. Is there anything else you guys want to get to before we even get to Transformers? We got some time still, man. We got some time.
We got nothing but time.
That's true. We do. Let's just jump into Transformers 2, and then we could just bounce around. Because I've been thinking about this movie since rewatching it last week.
Because I pressure you into like my love of Transformers like really pressures people into watching this in this franchise. And I won't watch 4 or 5 though. Those are too long. No, you got to watch them.
They're like 3 hours each.
Listen, my main thing is, and when I was on Connor's show and Not That Bad, when we did Battle LA, one of my things was like you always see New York, Washington D.C., Los Angeles. You always see those cities devastated. What I love about the Transformers, is they devastate Chicago. Finally, Chicago gets some destruction. Finally, somebody comes in, tears down the Sears Tower. I will not call it the Willis Tower. It's the Sears Tower.
Because it's not the Willis Tower. It never will be.
Right. And finally, Chicago gets devastated. So I do watch.
I walked around on the set of Transformers. When they destroyed Chicago. They shot it like a year prior to it coming out. It was fun. It was cool. I must have been. That's 3, right? When they destroy Chicago.
Yes, it's 3 when they 3 that destroy Chicago.
Yeah. So that summer, I went to go visit the set of Transformers 3, and my dad took me. We drove down, got out, saw all the debris, the rubble. There was some extras walking around and stuff like that. And that was also the same summer they held out casting for extras to be in Man of Steel.
Oh,
yeah. So that was interesting. A couple new movie things there. I don't think they had cast Henry Cavill at that point, but it's kind of crazy to see movies shoot in Chicago. Like when you're there, like because it's so like iconic. It's not like New York. Like New York, I feel like it's such a movie kind of city. To me, it stops existing as like a real place because I've only seen it in movies. In Chicago, when I see like Wanted or something, I'm like, oh, I know where that is.
Right. I think, you know what, though? I think it's our Chicago upbringing in that sense where we're so proud of our city that when we see our city like put up on a big screen for any movie, it instantly becomes like a classic within Chicago. Like I feel like that's why Blues Brothers is so iconic. Wayne's World,
Yep.
Transformers, all while you were sleeping, like you see like the L, you see this downtown shots, you see whatever it is, and you're like Chicago, and we as Chicagoans, we put on for a city, So I don't know.
That's true. That is. Except John Hughes. You know what? Fuck John Hughes. Fuck him and fuck those. No, I'm just playing. But I have a bone to pick with those movies.
The John Hughes movies?
I have a bone to pick with those movies. Not 16 Candles. That movie's great. I have a bone to pick with these movies.
Are you picking a bone with
Breakfast Club and Ferris Bueller?
Ferris Bueller? You can't. Ferris Bueller's a fucking classic. You can't pick a bone with Ferris Bueller.
I have a bone to pick with those. I think
Ferris Bueller.
I think they're 5 out of 5 perfectly written and structured movies. So that aside, they're perfect. I can't argue that. I think it's unrealistic that they don't get mugged at any point.
You know what I think? You know what? While we're on this topic, okay, we're all Chicagoans here. Okay, we all know the city. We all know the suburbs. We all know all of that about that area. I'll tell you what. I have a bone to pick with Home Alone. How in the blue hell do they afford that house?
That's true. That's
how do they afford that house? The house I lived in was like a small. It was a ranch house that was about the size of a shed, and that thing sold for like $250,000 when we moved to Georgia. The fact that that Kevin's family lives in this house. And
it's like $1 million. It's like $2 million or something.
Man, it's insane. It's in like a nice neighborhood too. If you've ever been to that area, I haven't had the privilege of going there myself, but it's a nice area. So
yeah, it's well met. I think somebody did a YouTube thing about it, and I think at the end of the day, they said he was probably a drug dealer.
That's right. Somebody did theorize that Kevin's dad was a drug dealer.
Like he was, I mean, there's no way you could afford a house that big with like fucking 8 kids.
Insane. It was insane.
That's true.
That's my bone to pick with
I got another bone to pick with those Home Alone movies. Growing up, I could never tell who the fuck were his siblings and who the fuck were his cousins. They really don't get into detail. You really have to watch those movies a bunch of times to realize he's got 2 brothers and 2 sisters.
Yeah.
To me, the whole time I'm like, oh, he's got Buzz. That's it. And then I rewatch those like every year. And I'm like, wait a minute. He's got a sister? He's got 2 sisters? The ginger kid's his brother? Like, I don't know. A lot of bones to pick with those John Hughes movies. Baby's Day Out. What the fuck is going on in Baby's Day Out? How the hell was that baby able to get all around the city? He's got to answer for these things if he wasn't dead.
Yeah, I mean, let's get a Ouija board, man. Let's do it up.
Let's talk.
You know what? I've always wanted to play with a Ouija board. No lie, I've never had the opportunity.
I've had the inkling to want to but at the same time, I'm a little afraid. What if something pops off?
Well, I believe in the whole possession stuff. So I feel like if I were to fucks around with it, I'm gonna quickly find out that I'm fucking being possessed. Immediately. But
I wonder how that would play out. How does possession work? Do you do you just go on the back burner and then the new thing just takes over? We'll do a Ouija board live on the show.
I'll do it. I'll do it again.
Oh, so you've done it.
You've done it.
Yeah.
Explain to us that. Explain to us how the Ouija board works.
So so here's the thing, right? I fully, chat can make fun if they want to. I fully believe in ghosts. I've experienced too many things in my life to my house right now. I have a video I can send you right now of something happening in my house.
Do it. I want to see that.
I love these things.
But I did, and I was a ghost hunter for a while too in Chicago. Other than that, the Ouija boards and stuff are all my experience with it is that somebody moves it to try to get a rise out of everybody. I have no reason to believe that a Ouija board is legit, but I think there are things you can do to just make weird shit happen. And and hey, look, dude, maybe this is what maybe we get together in Atlanta, we find a haunted spot during Days of the Dead, and we investigate a haunted house. Maybe we do a ghost hunt between all of us.
Let's do it.
I think everybody'd be down.
Let's do it. I'm down for it.
And a Ouija board session. I'll bring that for the hell of it.
Also, if we are going to Atlanta, I just gotta say this. I would I want to go to a strip club. I want to visit one of those Atlanta strip clubs, like they're infamous for. I'm just saying, it could be a guy one. It doesn't matter, or it could be a girl one. That doesn't, whatever, you know.
What they should have a gender neutral strip club.
They do in Wisconsin, so I work up in Wisconsin a lot. Listen, I'm just saying.
It would be in like all states, Wisconsin.
I work in Wisconsin a lot. It's called the Sugar Shack. All right, you can look it up. It's called the Sugar Shack.
Dropping names. Okay.
The top level is the Gentleman's Club.
How do you know so much about the Sugar Shack, Gabe?
Because I pass by the Sugar Shack every time I work in Wisconsin. Next time I work in Wisconsin, I'll send you a picture of the Sugar Shack.
I'm looking up the Sugar Shack right now.
Yeah, look it up. Come up to Wisconsin and visit the Sugar Shack.
This is it's got a 3.5 on Google.
Oh my God.
The staff there are friendly and kind. The lady dancers are very nice. The bouncer laughed and replied, "No, you aren't going upstairs. Floor staff makes you feel important and seat groups immediately." Sounds like a great place. I mean, Peter C says, first time there Saturday, July 23rd, and girls were okay until the waitress came over to take her a drink. Yeah, I mean, Gabe, we should definitely go. Let's take a trip to Wisconsin.
Sugar Shack it up.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
I always have fun reading like reviews of like strip clubs. Like, what the fuck is there to complain about?
So fun. You got to find like the smallest town and see if they have a strip club there, and just look at the reviews, and you will have the most fun you've ever had in your life.
Yeah,
like have you ever read the reviews on Amazon for like sex toys? Like
I have read those. Yeah,
haven't done hilarious.
That. Oh, those are like if you want to go through like a wormhole of like reviews, like that's the place.
I'm glad you used the term wormhole and didn't choose another hole with that statement, but I guess we'll move forward.
How many times has Gabe said the Sugar Shack?
How many times has he been to the Sugar Shack?
How many times have you been there?
Listen, before Jess, I would say I was a frequent visitor of many of Gentlemen's Club. From the ages of like 18 to like
I bet you came through the back door like Goodfellas or something. Mr. Tenero, right this way. You're like sticking like dollar bills.
No, dude, it was like I was like Mr. Papa Giorgio in Vegas Vacation. Mr. Papa Giorgio, your regular table? And I'm like, sure. Handing out tips. Now, my trick was $2 bills because the stripper will remember you if you're giving out $2 bills. Everybody gives out the singles, but a $2 bill, instant, like, oh, you're the dude that gave me a $2 bill last week.
Those things are unlucky. Travis, thank you for joining us again, man. It's nice to see you. Okay. Transformers 2 is awful, but it works because all the pieces that worked in the original are still there, and you feel like you're in that world again. That is true. That when we get to Transformers 2, which we kind of started,
yeah. We started there. We're strippers now.
We're strippers now. But Transformers 2, that was my main takeaway. I'm like, holy shit, this movie shot better than most blockbusters. It looks great. Michael Bay, King, Daddy, all those things. Daddy of Bayhem. But the movie's written so badly, but at the same time, I really didn't care, and I had such fun with it. And it's so fucking crazy, and the plot is so bad, but it also has like really funny jokes in there too. Real quick, back to the strip club thing.
Did you ever hold on real quick? Did you guys ever see that Zombie Strippers with Jenna Jameson and Robert Englund?
Yeah,
I have not seen that.
I don't know that I'd recommend it.
Yeah, no. I think I saw that just because I had Jenna Jameson. I was like, oh yeah.
Well, it's like
back in her heyday.
Those movies could so easily be like a fun time, you know? Like there's so many terrible movies like Suburban Sasquatch that are just like so fun to watch. Thanks Red Letter Media for that one. But Zombie Strippers is not one of them.
No.
I think it's Zombies versus Strippers now that I'm thinking about it, but it's not.
I feel like I remember seeing trailers for that back when it dropped.
It's one of those like late night blockbuster, like as close as you can get to an adult site blockbuster.
Yeah, I would say it's like right on the back wall before you go into the back room of the local video store. You know, it's like it's like the preview of what the back room will be.
Right. Which we had like a family video here for a while, and it's like, okay, you're calling yourself family video, but you have the beaded curtain.
Hey,
they
brother,
did have that, didn't they?
It's family video until you cross those beads, man. Once you go through the bead,
hey,
the bead
it's for every member of the family.
It
is.
is.
If you got an Uncle Paulie, he likes to get freaky at night, man. Uncle Paulie needs his entertainment too.
Are we talking about Rocky's Uncle Paulie there?
I guess everybody's got an Uncle Paulie in some way. So whoever your Uncle Paulie is, he probably watches a shit ton of porn. Speaking of strip clubs, we used to go to the strip club, me and Gabe's cousins. And well, actually, we would do this when we go out for drinks, but we did it at strip clubs too because it was even funnier. We would come up with backstories like Wedding Crashers. I'm gonna say, what's our backstory for tonight? And mine, we came up with the perfect backstory, and it was that I used to be in a Mentos commercial when I was 5. And every time I go out, it's a burden because everybody remembers me and they think of the jingle, and I'm really annoyed by it. I went to the strip club, it killed. Everybody,
Dude, that's incredible.
Everybody fell for it, and they thought that it was like the Mandela effect. They thought that they had seen me in this commercial that didn't exist. You're like, oh, I remember that, and then we just start mumbling the Mentos jingle, and then they think it was real, and it was great. It was definitely
incredible.
Great. But we should probably stop talking about the Sugar Shack sponsored this episode, by the way.
What a great name for a strip club, the Sugar Shack. Well, the ones I used to go to were called the Silver Slipper.
It's a great one for Wisconsin strip club, I'll tell you that.
Diamonds.
There was I feel like I know the Silver Slipper.
It's in Ottawa. It's in Bufu, Illinois. So it's like
that's how I know it. I drove past it. It was like maybe like 25, 30 minutes away from my apartment when I was there.
Yeah, it's like on I-80 heading towards like Iowa.
Yep. Okay, so let's get into Transformers.
That's too much stripper talk.
Too much stripper talk. We'll maybe do a spin-off show, and we'll go to different strip clubs. We'll review them, and we'll share reviews with you guys.
Listen, real quick though, before we get off, if you have glasses and you go to a strip club, it is like the best thing ever because legitly, if you go up there with your $2 bill, your $1 bill, they'll take off your glasses and they'll rub them all over themselves, and they get all their juices and shit all over your glasses.
That's disgusting.
And then they put them back on you.
Oh man,
just saying.
That's disgusting. I don't like that. That's disgusting. I guess a little souvenir for the ride home.
You get an extra present when you wear glasses at the strip club. You know?
We got to get this back to the PG tone of the show.
Good Lord, I come on the show and I just somehow I ruin it.
I know we oh my God,
I didn't even bring it up.
We've scared away so many people with this conversation.
These
guys are like sex fiends.
Sorry, Mia.
Yeah, we're definitely
I've never
scared the girls away.
Everybody. I just want to make that clear.
I will say this though,
I met my wife as a teenager, so I've not been to a strip club.
We've been very encouraging of the gender neutral strip club. So
we have, and I'm still a proponent.
I'm a huge fan of the Magic Mike franchise. Okay, I want more penis in the Magic Mike franchise. I'm just saying. I've been saying that. No, but look, I will say this: when we first started our channel way back yonder, it was because of sex comedies like American Pie, Sex Drive, and all this. We've always been very
Sex Drive,
right. We've always been very open with what our bread and butter has been, and that's like sexual innuendos and sexual movies in that sense, which is great.
Which I think it's like, for me, I like every genre of film. I think there's something for everybody, and I think there's like there's beauty in all things that are movies. I think that's really cool that we could jump from that and talk about other things too. And we did start off that way, right? Like, yeah, like I there's a ton of movies that I love, but I had a lot of fun talking about Sex Drive, The 40-Year-Old Virgin, American Pie, like Van Wilder, like
Red Rocket.
These movies. Which one did you say?
Red Rocket.
I guess Red Rocket counts. It's more of like a messed up sex comedy in a way, but like a washed up has-been. Yeah, we definitely used to do that. And you can't find the episodes. I took them all down because they were embarrassing. But they exist somewhere.
Yes. But listen, Transformers 2.
The best transition in Flopbuster history. Sex comedies, awkwardness. Anyway,
from the Sugar Shack to Transformers 2.
Good Lord.
And yes, Mike, we should. Oh no, I thought you said the Sugar Shack should sponsor us. No, Mentos should sponsor us. They should.
Listen, so real quick though, I flubbed the whole thing on the poster with the number stuff. So I don't want people to be like, oh my God, they said they're going to do a giveaway and they're not going. Now they're not going to. If Mike Jones is still on here, because he's the one that's been going, I'm just going to send it out to Mike Jones because he's the one that asked for it. Mike Jones, you win it. Message me on, I don't know. Look for me on Instagram or Facebook. or Twitter, whatever. Send me a message and I'll send it out.
He's on Truth Social and OnlyFans too.
I am on OnlyFans. I do have. It's called Pedro's Feet, and then I got feet pictures on my OnlyFans.
Travis pointed out that we're a PG show discussing a film that features a robot with 2 wrecking balls as testicles. That is true. What's up with the testicles in this movie?
There's a lot of that. Bumblebee wants to pee on somebody.
That's true.
You know, somebody wanted to get a golden shower from Bumblebee. Another guy wanted to pee on the dog or whatever. The dog peed on one of the Transformers in the first one. There's always been some sort of like sexual innuendos within Transformers, within the robots as well.
Like in the Bay Transformers or all the Transformers?
Oh, good Lord.
The what?
Just the Bay Transformers. You're not talking about like the cartoon.
No,
right?
I'm talking about the Bay
the Michael Bay movies.
Yeah.
He's a strange.
Dude, you guys gave me an awkward silence after my whole thing. Like I felt really weird about my whole little thing about the peeing on whatever.
I was just listening.
He's a strange filmmaker because I think he's like super immensely talented. His movies look beautiful. He's an auteur, which is so weird to describe him as one.
Yeah.
But he technically is, because I don't think any like producer would ever tell Michael Bay you can't do this, because I'm pretty sure he's just gonna fucking do it anyway. But at the same time, he gives into like the weirdest and worst tendencies, which is like hyper over sexualizing of any woman that's in there. Which I mean, I guess like he gets like the hottest ladies ever in his movies. A bunch of really perverse jokes that were probably written by a 13-year-old and crazy 360 shots of action. That's a Michael Bay movie. And you're either going to love it or you're going to hate it. And this movie has some of Bay's best and worst tendencies. And I think in order for it to work for you, you kind of just have to not turn off your brain, but like you have to at least really like Michael Bay movies. And if you only tolerate him, I feel like this would be one of the worst movies you'll ever see.
Right. Listen, with that being said, like you said, it's goddamn, I lost my train of thought. Never mind me.
This show's wild. Like we went all over the place.
You've been everywhere.
We went off the rails.
It was like really strict by your notes, and then like somewhere in the middle. I just brought up the Sugar Shack, and then like shit just went.
Connor's thinking like, "Oh my god, why the fuck did I agree?" Like he's probably texting Gabe like, "Dude,
honestly,
we gotta cut these guys out."
What I'm thinking right now, is, man, I come to this show and I'm just like the bad omen. You know, I showed up and all of a sudden the show went off the rails. No, I honestly like it's been. You almost made me spit out my drink at one point, so good indication.
Good.
No, there you go. Found my thought. So this Transformers 2 won a whole shit ton of Razzies because of the bad acting or whatever, all the bayness in it. But it's also an Oscar-nominated film. It got nominated for Best Sound Mixing.
That's true.
One of the things that Bay did, in my eyes, correctly across all the Transformers franchise is the sound that the robots do when they're transforming. When Optimus Prime transforms from semi truck to full prime, it's awesome.
Yeah, and I think. Listen again. I think Bay. The one thing that's very consistent with his later films, I would say, from Bad Boys 2 up until now, his movies are really funny. I actually enjoy a lot of the jokes in most of his movies. Like Ambulance, Jake Gyllenhaal is just fucking crazy in that movie.
Right.
Or Pain and Gain. I laugh a lot at Pain and Gain. I think Pain and Gain's a really underrated film. And I think it's The Rock's probably his best performance he's ever given in a movie. And I think Transformers 2 is the same. There's a ton of jokes in here I laugh at. Like the frat boys talking about their tight shirts. Or even the fucking weirdo, the robot chick that tries to seduce Sam. I thought that shit was funny, but also kind of gross. She's got the tail sticking out and stuff. I thought even Megan Fox and Shia LaBeouf have their best chemistry in this movie. I think out of the two movies, their chemistry was even better in this one.
Weren't they dating?
They were they dating? Wasn't that a rumor that the internet put out, or was that true?
They put it out as a rumor back then, and then I think Shia sort of like came out like when he was doing his apology tour, whatever, that they did he did confirm that they dated, and then they asked Megan Fox, and Megan Fox was all like, "Oh, I don't know if we did or not." So she was like all shy about it.
I want to bring her up real quick. I feel like as a nation, we kind of let Megan Fox down because we over sexualized her way back when as just this really pretty face, but no personality, void of anything, no acting talent. I think she's got real movie star charisma between this and Jennifer's Body. And I think it's very easy to write her off. But I definitely think had we given her a proper chance, she could have been something really special in like a Channing Tatum kind of way, where it's just like you kind of at first glance, you're like, Channing Tatum's just a pretty face, but he gets to work with a lot of these great directors like Steven Soderbergh or Quentin Tarantino who see the potential in him and use him in the right capacity, like Logan Lucky or 21 Jump Street or, again, The Hateful Eight. And I feel like Megan Fox never got that chance. Like she was in the Bayformers. Michael Bay kind of mistreated her. There was a whole thing about that, and she walked off those movies. Jennifer's Body, Karen Kusama saw something in her, gave her a chance. It's become this huge cult classic, but she hasn't really been able to give a chance besides that because of all the drama that went on with Transformers 2 and her quitting the franchise.
It's a shame, right? Because it's there's been a lot of actresses like that, right? And that we idolize and in a sexual way like that, right? They become sex idols, right? Marilyn Monroe being like one of the first ones, right? Where it's just they get this I don't know, the stigma of being very, I don't know, whatever, not floozy, but whatever the case may be.
No, I know what you mean, because Marilyn was the same way. But and then
like an airhead, right? Like an airhead. Like there's no
airheaded.
substance. Yeah, airheaded. There's no substance to them. It's just all looks for it. Sort of like how Margot Robbie in Babylon was portrayed, right?
Right.
During that era. And that's sad because a lot of times these actresses could add more. Like, for example, Sandra Bullock, right? She's a really pretty girl, right? Is she as good looking as Megan Fox? No, but because she's not as good looking, she gets all these wider roles.
We took her more seriously as like a movie star.
Right. Like, because she looks like, if you look more like the girl next door, you're going to get more chances. But if you look like a supermodel right off the gate, like you're not going to get as many chances. And it's just unfortunately the way that it is.
What do you think about that, Connor? Do you think was she unfairly criticized for her early work? I mean, mind you, she was only I feel like in these movies, she's got to be 23, 22 in this run of films that she's done here.
Not only do I think she was judged unfairly, I think it just kind of shows like this weird trend that it started to go. It's like the actresses that are just gorgeous for a long time that just kind of went with a lot of that stuff that was happening, or the roles they were being put into did eventually break out to be big stars. Jennifer Connelly is one of them that I can think of who like her roles really started as that. And obviously there's, things about, when she was coming up in movies and stuff, but it seems like there was a period of time before recently. I think recently it's much better, but like one that we talked about when you came on our show, we talked about Alicia Cuthbert and about how talented she was in that movie. And in the movie Girl Next Door, we were just like, man, like I can't believe she did not get the opportunity to do something big, because she's the thing that holds that movie together. And I think when I think back on Megan Fox, I said this in the last time we were on here, I'm not the biggest fan of the Transformers movies. I have my opinions on them, and some are good opinions, some are bad opinions. But Jennifer's Body is a movie that I think she really showed what she could do. And even though, I don't know that she could have been a long-term like number one on the cast list, but 3, 4, 5, like why has she not been given that opportunity more to flourish, even if it's on like a somewhat of a smaller level? She doesn't have to be top billing. She can be somebody who gets an opportunity to really show what she can do in a movie, and I think she could have left an impact. She may be past that. I mean, I saw that awful thing that MGK did. I don't think anybody's going to recover from that.
What I didn't hear. What he do?
He made some kind of awful movie that she was in. It was very bad.
He
very,
directed.
Very bad.
He directed it. Yeah.
Yeah, he directed it. He starred in it. And she was in it. And I think she could probably be forgiven for that, but I think women in Hollywood often aren't. When, like, you know, a dude could come back from a bad performance and has. I mean, George Clooney, Batman and Robin, that guy's had a long career since then. But it's not as common for female actresses or for actresses. You know, it
I
can
can't
be.
think of one. Yeah, I can't think like you bring up Clooney. I mean, Clooney's probably for me one of my favorite movie stars ever. I wouldn't not like a great thespian, but in terms of movie star, like I think George Clooney, and like he does Batman and Robin, it fucking bombs. And it should ruin somebody's career, that movie. And he does Out of Sight a year later, and everybody goes, "Oh my god, this guy's the next Cary Grant. He's amazing."
Dude, that's the thing. Like, you could argue that Batman and Robin's like his breakout still. Like, that was what got him all of the opportunities that he would do later. And this is a movie that he has literally given people money to refund them for watching. So it's like, you know, and like there are actresses that do defy that. I mean, if you look at Mila Kunis early in her career, she did American Psycho 2, which did not go over well with anybody. But, you know, then she would go on to be, you know, semi-successful. She was not in like the huge movies as a big star, but you know, Black Swan was a huge opportunity for her. She did that movie with, was hers No Strings Attached, or was hers Friends with Benefits?
Friends with Benefits.
Hers is Friends with Benefits?
Yeah, those both came out like 3 months apart or
the
something.
exact same time, which I always get them mixed up. But yeah, I mean, like she got her opportunities, and I don't want everybody to think I'm just like sitting here just trying to earn brownie points with with the female demographic or anything. There are outliers, but Megan Fox is one, like Alicia Cuthbert, who I think was judged as, oh, she's a pretty face. That's all she's going to offer you. And I think she shows in a lot of movies that that's really not the case. And it sucks that she never got the opportunity to really break out to a higher level.
Right. After today's show, you're definitely going to need those brownie points though, bro. So, but you know what I find, not interesting, right? But what I find like troublesome, right, is this over sexualization of these women when they're like 16, 17, not quite 18, right? Like,
Megan Fox is one of them, wasn't she? Well, she was in the background of Bad Boys 2, right? When she was only 17.
She was right. 17 years old.
The chick from Stranger Things, the two girls, Sadie Sink and
Millie Bobby Brown is
Millie Bobby Brown,
young,
right?
Yeah.
They're like over sexualized. In the music world, right? People were waiting on like what, Billie Eilish to turn.
Britney, Britney was a huge one.
Aaliyah, Britney, Christina Aguilera, like so, like we. As a society, a lot of men and women over sexualize these women, girls, as soon as like they're on a big hit TV show, even though they might not be 18, 19, they're getting already over sexualized.
Yeah.
Right?
I think with Millie, there was like a website that had a countdown to her 18th birthday, which is like, that's the most horrific shit that I've ever heard. And really, like, that's the thing, man. Like, when you think about that, it's like sexualization is something that like sex sells. Okay. If you want to sexualize the people in your movie, look, if the actor
we're about to sexualize Flopbuster.
But if you want to sexualize the people in your movie and the people in your movie are actually down for that, you know, they don't feel threatened, they feel comfortable with doing it, do it. I mean, the Marvel movies, I mean, look at all those fucking tight costumes everybody's in. They're clearly doing it.
There's at least one shot of somebody without their shirt on, like just like fucking
it makes
flexing
sense.
Or whatever.
It makes sense to sell tickets, but there's a point where you're just using somebody for that and not using it as a part of their appeal. When you're using that as their appeal, that's when the problem starts, or against, you know, their best judgment, like Megan Fox being underaged on a Bad Boys movie in a like a G string or something. I don't even remember what it was.
And 17 on Transformers.
It's just, man, it's just
so that shot where she's like on the hood of, you know, Bumblebee, and she's like trying to figure out what's going on in the engine, and Michael Bay like zooms up like her backside to like her face. She was 17.
It's just, man, it's just something not right about that. I don't know, man. But hopefully I think that's starting. There is a culture that's starting to change, at least within the industry, with that, which is a good thing. And hopefully that will translate to our screens, where like the only people who are doing it are those basement dwellers making, you know, countdowns for actresses. Like, they can do that all they want as long as, you know, these works that they're doing this for are not complicit with that, which I think Stranger Things did a good job of doing. They didn't, you know, put Millie in a skin tight Britney Spears costume, you know, like.
I mean, yeah, it's true. And I doubt they'll do that for the Little Mermaid, but we'll see.
I would hope so. Great casting, by the way. Great casting for the Little Mermaid. I just want to throw that there.
Well, the movie doesn't look great, but she looks great.
I can't wait to hear those. I can't wait to hear those songs.
Yeah, the songs are going to be the best part of the movie.
Songs, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And it's made for kids. Everybody, it's made for kids. All right, you can go and enjoy it if you want to. It's made for kids.
Listen, and if you don't want to enjoy it, guess what? You could pop in the freaking DVD of like the '90s Little Mermaid and enjoy that.
Just
one.
like in Seinfeld, where Jerry tells Kramer, "You're fighting children." It's the same thing. All right.
It's not made for you, homie.
This is why I feel like shows like Queer Eye and RuPaul are awful, as they promote sexual preference with sex on the forefront, which encourages a generation to focus on sex. There's definitely something to be said about any of those shows, for sure. Even Euphoria, which I think Euphoria is a really well told and well done, well acted show. I love Zendaya. Sydney Sweeney is one where she can kind of get the Megan. I really hope she doesn't get the Megan Fox treatment.
I really hope so.
Because I think she's a really charming actress. I can't wait for that new. She's doing a romantic comedy with Glenn Powell coming out. But she is definitely one of those actresses I can see like, oh shit, I really hope people just don't over-sexualize her, and then boom, she just kind of disappears. She was like a flavor of the week. But I do agree. I think there's a lot of shows that really do push that. It's got to be in a really positive way, right?
Well, right. I think like also most reality TV shows are that way though. They overemphasize. They
over-sensationalize.
But also here in America, we're founded by Puritan values as opposed to Europe, where they're more open, freely about sex. So apparently we're more oppressed here in America than, let's say, Europe or South American countries, where everything over there as well is very overly sexualized.
Did you know in Europe you could jerk off at the beach? It would be rude, but you wouldn't get in trouble for it.
Like they have topless news. Like there's topless news on like Germany and
is that true?
It is.
Wait, what? Since when?
I don't know. All the time I heard. I don't know. I'm not German. I don't live in Germany.
Well, imagine hearing about a fucking mass shooting, but it's like a fucking dude with his dick out.
Well, oh yeah. Like imagine just fucking swinging it. Like there's another mass shooting today here in Germany.
It'd be pretty terrible.
Good Lord. Good Lord. We went back to that topic.
Yeah, I know. We got really serious, and we're talking about like Megan Fox. She got a bad deal.
She could have been perfect for, as much as I love romantic comedies. Like I'm like a sucker for all romantic comedies. If it's on Netflix, Hulu, whatever, at the theater, I'm gonna go watch a romantic comedy. One of my fucking favorite genres. But I feel like Megan Fox didn't get that romantic comedy angle that she should have gotten.
Now,
like she did make one movie with Simon Pegg. I think it was called How to Make Friends and Alienate, some shit like that. But it wasn't that big. It wasn't huge.
Simon.
Wait a minute. I feel like I need to look this up.
And then she was in small parts of This Is 40.
Oh yeah.
She was really good in This Is 40.
But again, she was sexualized, right? She was caught on camera.
Also, just to make it clear, I fucking love sex in movies. I think it's hot, but it should be consensual.
So you're the one watching Skinamax.
Maybe. Well, no, like I like sexy movies, like Out of Sight or something. When it's like sexy actors being sexy, like there's an art to that. Like I think J-Lo and George Lopez, or not George Lopez, not George Lopez, George Clooney. They're very sexy people. So you're like, oh yeah, like cool. This whole movie they want to
listen. George Lopez has been canceled because Batman is a fascist.
Batman's a fascist. But no, I think there's an art to it. Even in like the 30s and 40s, 99% of the movies, 99% of the stories of movies in the 30s and 40s is we have an insanely hot young lady. We have an insanely hot leading man. They're going to fall in love and wacky hijinks. And that's the end of the movie. That's about 90% of movies with like Claudette Colbert or Cary Grant or whatever it is. I think the issue is that like when it's the actress isn't in on it, like how Bay did to Megan Fox. I know he like apologized and stuff, but by then I feel like the damage was already done.
Well, they did the same thing with Katherine Heigl. She was huge, right? Then she does that movie with Seth Rogen, Knocked Up, right? She came out, said
she was big for like 3 years.
She was big because she was coming from Grey's Anatomy, so she was huge. Sort of like how George Clooney was coming from ER to do Batman and Robin. She was coming from Grey's Anatomy.
Right.
She was being in the new, Judd Apatow comedy. They were huge in the mid 2000s. And then she came out and said, well, I wasn't really comfortable with the subject matter. I really wasn't comfortable with this. And like the whole internet blasted her. Like, well, why'd you do this movie? Her career has tanked ever since. Like, you really don't hear about Katherine Heigl that much.
I haven't heard a word about her since.
Right.
Connor, what were you going to say, man? I think we cut you off.
No, the only thing I was going to say is that I have hope that Megan Fox can go. If at the very least, if somebody at a big level does not recognize the talent, if she still got the passion for it and she still got the love for it, I hope it happens. But she does have the opportunity to go like the route of like a Lindsay Lohan, who's like just recently was in she's having her own little kind of mini renaissance in these. I mean, they're not the biggest movies in the world, but she's getting work and she's doing it as a leading lady. And I think if the big directors don't do that, there is something to be said about movies that still make their impact, like Lindsay Lohan's most recent romantic comedy. Say what you will about it, a lot of people really didn't like it, but it made an impact. And then I think she could do something along those lines. She could potentially do that down the line, but I do think everything is unfortunate, and she should have had a lot more opportunities. Just after coming off of Transformers, it's just sad to see.
She did. Did you guys watch that one with her called Till Death?
I did.
I did not.
She's actually really good in that.
She carries that movie. I mean, that movie's just her just trying to be a badass the entire time. People are trying to murder her, and so she gets injured and all this shit.
It also has a really unique kind of hook. It's about she's having an affair. She's not happy with her really overbearing and shitty, terrible rich husband.
MGK.
Not MGK. It's like the super old dude. But he's aware of her affair.
Oh, Sean Austin.
He takes her on their anniversary up to a cabin. She thinks it's a getaway for their anniversary. He handcuffs himself to her, kills himself, while other men are there to steal something from him, information that he has. So she's handcuffed to her dead husband while terrible men are coming into the house to extract some information. Yeah, but I think she's really good in that, and I think again, like, I know we went off on a whole tangent and a whole thing, but I think her and Shia, with the little bit of what they have in here to work with, they do the best they can. And I think their chemistry is really good.
Good job reeling it back. I like that. That was good.
I had to somehow work it back in because I think everybody's just lost at that point. They're just like, what the fuck are they talking about?
Yeah, I know. That was a tangent for sure.
We went off on a tangent. Yeah. I don't even know where we stand about sexuality in movies now. It's like, well, where did you guys say? It's just like Tarantino was in the news like yesterday because he said he doesn't like sex in movies or something.
That's crazy.
Yeah, he said that the other day, which is, I mean, some of his movies have sexual things happening.
Hold on, this dude has like bare feet fetish. Like everybody talks about his feet fetish, and he's talking about not sexualizing. He doesn't like sex in films. Like, come on.
I think what he was trying to say was about sex scenes. Like, he thinks filming sex scenes are awkward, and so he doesn't want to do them. And so his idea is like he doesn't want to put a sex scene in his movie because of how hard it is and how awkward it is to film. I never expected it to come from a guy who looks and sounds like Quentin Tarantino, but. Hey,
I figured he would have loved sex scenes.
Oh my god, I would have been. I was shocked when I read it. I was like, "Are you sure this is Quentin?"
Tarantino? Because doesn't he love the Grindhouse movies from like the 70s and 80s that are all like sexploitation?
They're super sexual and sexploitation.
I would honestly though, I would believe that he does actually love those for the art side of it. Like, he's that kind of guy who's just like really into the art that he's into and could defend it to the earth. Like, have you seen his list of like the movies he considers perfect? You look at that list and you're just like, oh, okay, all right. There's a couple big surprises in there. So
I think Friday's on that list.
I think Friday is on that list.
At one point, he did have Friday on that list.
Yeah. I was watching like the IMDb like trivia for Friday, and it said, "Oh, Quentin Tarantino named it one of his favorite comedies from the '90s." I was like, nice.
Yeah, he does love that movie.
Validated.
Validated. I'm validated with Friday.
It's a great movie. It's a great movie.
No, but I think if you like shoot like a sex scene, like I think it's like you guys are saying, it's hard to shoot a sex scene. The actors are uncomfortable. The women especially, because they're surrounded by men and they're naked on set. You know, for the most part, what they said, like maybe 80-90% of a shoot is mostly men there, and then you have a woman there that's standing, you know, topless, you know, bottomless, whatever the case may be.
Well,
so
that's right.
Uncomfortable. But now, I think you have to do it like you have to do it tastefully. Like it has to be.
Well, now they have sex coordinators on set.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the whole process isn't like a director who's being creepy, going, "Oh yeah, I want you to do this," and like pretend that you're doing like
give me more thrust.
Now you have somebody there to be like, "What's going to make you comfortable?"
Most of them are close set now too, which is like the best thing to do.
I think that's really tasteful.
If anybody ever casts me in one, like, don't worry, I don't need a closed set. Everybody could just see me. I'm good with
that. We'll remake Boogie Nights, but with Gabe.
Yes. Oh boy.
People are like, why is this 40-year-old man a
Listen, I am not 40, motherfucker.
I'm sorry. I apologize. 40. You're 38, 37.
I'm 39. All right. So it's my last couple months in my 30s. All right. Just let me live with that.
I'll let you have it. I'm
a 39-year-old with like a mentality of like a 22-year-old. All right. I still act like a little kid here. So just let me live out my last remaining months in my 30s.
Do you, man?
I think Connor's just flabbergasted. Like, what the fuck did we bring him on for?
No,
like, what is this show?
Connor's like, why is this bald-headed 40-year-old?
No, let me tell you this. Let me tell you this. Our shows are very long, okay, but there is a lot that is cut out of them. That is all I will say. There is a lot that our Gabe is a saint for being the editor of our show, because there is a lot that we cut out, and most of it's just shit like this.
But the thing is, like, with the direction of the show, like, I was so tired, and I know, Gabe, I know you were too, because you told me you were, which is like, let's run down these news topics, and then we're like playing up this very energetic back and forth, which was fun. But it becomes repetitive. Like, we're doing the same thing every single week, at least with like not that bad. You guys are bringing in different guests, talking about different movies, and it's a looser template. Like, you guys have a structure. I've been on the show, and there is a structure. But it's a looser structure. With us, it was like all structure, and that's it. We weren't allowed to, like, Gabe, I would try to reel him in from doing the hot takes. Like, let's keep it this way. Maybe we can push
he would
this
try
kind
to
of...
reel me in, like, and I'll be like, okay, that's fine. But then there'll be also weeks where there's maybe like 3 droplets of news that dropped, and Tony was like, dude, there's only like 3 things to talk about. Like, what else should we talk about? Like, there's only like 3 news bits.
That's why this show, we're just like, I think we should just not have any rules. Let's just come on here and say whatever we want. And people are either going to watch or they're going to be very mad at what we have to say. And I think we've got a good balance here. We talked about the Sugar Shack.
Yeah.
Oh man, that was done. I don't know if people need to talk about the Sugar Shack anymore.
But we came to defend Megan Fox too.
Yeah, and I'll say this too. Like, you know, I've been watching you guys since very early days of your streams, and the show's always been fun. But like, there were definitely times where I was just like, oh man, like the show's been on for like 45 minutes. They're calling it. I was like, okay, well, you know, I sat down, I got my popcorn ready for an hour show, but all right, that's fine, that's all right, I get it.
Listen, that's mostly that was mostly on Tony's end, where he's like, all right, like I have a heart out.
Yeah, look,
he has a heart out.
Absolutely.
Right? I usually don't, but it was Tony's like, I got a heart out, I gotta go, or it's like we're done talking about whatever it is that we're talking about, and we're just like, we don't want to sit there with like our dicks in our hands anymore, and so like, all right, peace out. You know,
I feel like when we were doing it in person in my apartment, which I think is still probably the best, my favorite of the show, because it was live together in front of something. And like with remote shows, I feel like I don't want to hold people hostage. Right now we are. 100%.
Well, of course, yeah.
But I'm having fun doing it, so it's fine. But I feel like with the news rundown, I'm like, let's just do it in 45. It's already remote. We're asking a lot. And they also have to be very interested in what we're talking about too.
Right.
But this is like a different beast now. I don't know what I would describe this current version of the show as.
Well, and I'll say this too. Like, I think you just reached that point. Like, I think you would have seen, like, we had you on pretty early in our show, and when we covered Dead Silence, and then I think you saw, like, by the time you came back, we were not as like, oh, like, what's your number one in the good? What's your number two in the good? Now let's jump to the bad. We were more so like, oh, let's like, we're going to section it out, but like, let's just, free talk about it. Well, if you got a point, we want to make sure everybody gets their notes in, but like, that's really all the structure is now, because we had the same thing. We were like, God, man, like the show feels so restricting every week. We're just, we talk about the movies every 2 weeks, but we're always talking about them in the same way. So yeah, like you just reach that point where sometimes you just gotta change it up. And I've been loving your guys' show since you changed it. I loved it before, but you guys have a blast now. I can tell you guys are having more fun with it, especially on the slower news days, like you said. So
like today.
Yeah,
well,
not
I
much
feel like
in the news.
We really don't like even cover the news anymore. Like I threw some stuff in there just because I was curious what you guys would think about like Warner Brothers or the Blade stuff.
Right.
But I knew it's just like, let's just do whatever. That's mainly why we wanted to bring you on too, because we want to bring on people that we have fun talking to, and it's always a blast talking to you and Gabe.
Oh.
And
you know what,
that's
though,
what this show's gonna be.
We did forget to say, and I'll ask you, Connor, is how many movies have you watched this year on Letterboxd, or if you have put them up?
Not a lot, man. I see. That's the thing. So like, because of the show, it's this weird thing, right? Where like, I know a lot of the people that I talk to are regular viewers or listeners of the show. So I won't put my ratings on Letterboxd until like way after it's come out. But even with that, I don't get to watch a whole lot of movies. So like, I maybe 10 movies this year. I'm like, when I hear you guys, like your numbers, I'm like, good Lord, I wish I could watch that many movies. I heard I saw somebody online was like, oh yeah, I've watched 213 movies this year. I was like, this year you've watched 213 movies. How have you had the time for this?
That's insane.
I sit right now, as of right now, I sit 146.
I'm at 121 at the moment. Yeah. I've had a good April. My March, because of the move, I watched maybe 25 or so movies, but I try to hit like a movie a day, and if I can't, I'm on my days off. But I want a good balance. Like I just don't want to watch movies all the time. Like when I was working with my father, there would be times where I had so many days off, and then between big jobs, like we do a big job, and then I'd probably have like 3 days off or something, and I would watch like 5 movies a day. But it feels like cabin fever, where you just fucking watch. And I love movies, but like I want that good balance. I don't know how anybody like Gabe, like your numbers are fine because like. I could realistically, you can hit that if you're home for like a week or whatever it is, and you've been hitting those numbers like crazy. But I have seen people like Connor saying hit like 250, 230. I'm like, how the fuck do you do that? Like what? Like how do you even hit? That's like 4 movies, 5 movies a day without stopping consistently.
Yeah. No, mine's are usually when I'm off, I'll hit 3 or 4 movies. Saturdays, again, I'm off on Saturdays. On Saturdays and Sundays is usually where I do my big numbers early in the morning, or it's like 4. I could fit like 3 movies on a Saturday morning, Sunday morning, but because work has been slow for me since the beginning of the year, I've been able to hit higher numbers just because of that. But I do, like you said, I usually try to hit 1 movie a day. Also, I do get burned out on movies, especially over the weekend. So during the week, I'm watching more like, I don't know, A Million Little Things, like more like TV shows, stuff of that nature. So that way the weekend I could do like the 3-4 movies,
Right.
Like,
I got to ask you guys though, I'm curious on this topic. Are you guys more frequently new movie watchers, or are you more of like a revisitor? Like you usually go back instead of watching new stuff.
So I do the new stuff for the shorts that I do on YouTube and for my TikTok, and that's usually about 1 new movie a week at the theaters. Usually a lot of them it's revisits, or sometimes it's just something new that I picked out. Like for example, I was going to tell you, I know you're a huge wrestling guy. All of a sudden, for some reason I got this Mexican lucha libre movies from like the 1970s.
Oh, hell yeah.
So it was like this. It was like this lucha libre guy versus Dracula and the Wolfman. So
Was that El Santo?
Yeah, El Santo.
El Santo. Yeah.
And they're like there's like 6 of these movies that I didn't even know existed, and they're like all dubbed. They're like Spanish, but they're dubbed in English. And I'm like, all right, I'm gonna watch this. So I was like, all right, cool.
I never would have expected you to post that either, because you're like, I'm watching an old movie. I'm like, well, what is it? And it was like the most random. I have never. I'm like, okay,
Because Sony gives me so much shit that I don't watch movies like before 1973, and I was just like, well, why not? Let's give this a shot.
Well, hey, and I'll say too, like I kind of miss those days of like random watches, because like when I was still working retail, like I had so much time on my hands, so I would just hop on Netflix or like before I married my wife, like we've been together for a long time, so we would just pick something like, and I got to see so many cool movies that way. Like that's how I discovered Midnight Movie. We just like picked it out somewhere, and I thought that was such a fun low budget movie. There's the Last Shift, which I think was like a super cool small movie. There were so many movies that I just and Trick or Treat from 2007 was another example. I just like walked into a store, I saw the cover, thought it was cool, and picked it out. And it's crazy. Like I've had so little time lately that like I watch the shit for my show, I will watch it. But everything else, it's like, if something's out and I just have a little bit of time, maybe I'll watch it on streaming, or
right.
Sometimes I'll pick it up if I have faith in it, like the Munsters when that came out. I just blindly bought that. But other than that, man, it's like it's hard for me to get the time to watch these movies. So like keep up those numbers that you guys have, because I would potentially kill for those. So,
let's start a new show.
It's hard
where we make Connor watch a movie he hasn't seen. we could call it Connor's Never Seen.
It's hard though, like you said, to pick a new movie out in streaming, because there's so many options: HBO Max, Hulu, Netflix. And like if you went to like Blockbuster, a video store, Family Video, whatever, back in the day, you could just walk down the aisles, see the cover, read the quick synopsis on the back, and you're like, all right, I'm gonna pick out this. 3 movies at a time. And streaming, you're just, I don't know, it's like
too many options. You're mindlessly going through
options. It's like you don't know what you're gonna watch, so it's easier just to watch something that you've already seen countless times before, because like you already know what's going on. Plus, with my ADD, sometimes I'm on my phone, and it's like if I'm watching something that I've already seen, I already know what's going to happen, so I could pay a little bit less attention to it and be on my phone texting Tony or whoever. Because yeah,
Vic and I go to the theater once or twice a week. Sometimes more. It depends what it is, and I'll go by myself. She's at work or something.
Yeah.
So we go once or twice a week. When it comes to stuff that I watch on my own, I like rewatching some things, but if I already know it's my favorite movie, I don't feel the need to like keep rewatching unless like there's a specific reason why I'm gonna rewatch, like I don't know, like Goodfellas or something. Like I want to watch like, okay, what haven't I seen recently, or what haven't I seen at all that I probably should have seen by now? And I usually just like separate it by categories on my letterbox. It's like a private list. It's not my watch list. My watch list is like so random because it's a combination of things that I've already seen, and it's very few things I haven't seen, because it's just like, oh, maybe I want to rewatch that soon, and I put it on the watch list. But my actual lists are separated by decades, so it's like 80s. So like, what haven't I seen in the 80s? Like, let me make a list of that. What haven't I seen in the 60s and the 30s and the 40s?
It's a cool idea.
But that's the way I separate it. So mine's always a combination of like both in a way. But Gabe, you're definitely more consistent than I am with watching these things lately. I haven't been, that's for sure.
I commend you both.
I try. I've been trying to pump up my my international numbers, because I would say I am not that very well versed in like other countries' films. So I've been trying to pump up those numbers a little bit. And that's about it. Maybe some 80s movies. I don't know.
What about it? Like you need to see more 80s movies?
I need to see more 80s movies. You know what? I would admit I need to see more older movies. I will tell you this.
You know what? It's been on my mind. I'm gonna go ahead and say it. This is a hot take. Hold on, before we, because I don't want to hold you hostage, Connor. We're gonna close out soon. I know you.
Oh,
It's very
dude, you
late
can.
by you.
No, I mean, look, you can keep me as long as you want to be on here. I'm good.
Real quick, let me play this. Wait, is it gonna play? Oh.
Uh-oh.
80s is not the best decade of movies.
Ooh.
It's not.
I love movies. I love 80s movies. I love Back to the Future. I mean, I can name any 80s movies ever and tell you, like, yeah, I love Ghostbusters. I love Beverly Hills Cop. I love Body Double or Blowout or whatever, or The Untouchables. But it's not the best decade of movies. And I have to say that because I see that online lately. When they don't make movies the way they used to. Why don't they make movies like Ghostbusters? Or why don't they make movies like Caddyshack? It's just like you mean like all those SNL movies? Like that they barely fucking wrote. They were all too high on either cocaine or marijuana to even like figure it out. And they were just really talented. They'd show up to set, crack some jokes, and it happened to be a success. Cool. 80s is not the best movie decade. It never
It's the
was.
20s for Tony. It's the 1920s.
It's not the 1920s. It's not the pre-code era. I don't know if what era it would be. I think for me, it is the 1970s. I think it's very late 60s and all of the 70s and the 1990s. I think those
60s and 70s and 90s.
I think it's the late 60s, 70s, and 90s. I would say, Gabe, if you know, to go off, if he thinks that I think this way, I would say it would be the 40s and 50s. I love a ton of movies from that era, but that's also the Hays Code era. So movies weren't really allowed to push anything very far. They had to follow very strict guidelines. And I feel like in the 70s, you had New Hollywood. Everybody was allowed to do something new and exciting, like Romero, like Tobe Hooper, Carpenter, and Scorsese, and all these guys. And then in the 90s, I feel like you had a new renaissance of New Hollywood. And that was like Rodriguez and Tarantino and Gore Verbinski and all these guys coming out, where it's just like these new, exciting, fresh ideas, but also very interesting storytelling at the same time. And I think that the 80s is big for people that love franchise movies, that love things that remind them of childhood and nostalgia. And they go, it's the best decade ever. And when it's just like, yeah, those movies are great, but I don't think they really push anything forward in terms of like storytelling or like the history of film. So that's my hot take.
It's a good take. I mean, I would agree with the 90s on you. I would, for me, I would also add the 2000s. And even what we've been getting in the last 5 years. I would say that they're really pushing things nowadays with like originality. Like A24 is a studio that comes to mind with right now. You know, like we're all horror guys, right? All the newer horror. This is a hot take as well. I would say the newer horror movies, like the original horror movies, are probably better than some of the 80s that put out. You know,
I think there's definitely a more controlled quality.
Like I would put like the first Conjuring up against any 80s movies. And you know how much of a fan I am of like Nightmare on Elm Street? I would put up the Conjuring over the Nightmare on Elm Street because of how scary the Conjuring was. You know,
Jay, real quick, Jay, I've seen a lot of trailers for that movie, and it looks great. It looks really, really good. I know it's doing well at the box office too. There's a lot of fans of Your Name that are going out to support it. I have to check it out still, but I've seen nothing but good things, and it looks
anime
beautiful.
is one of those things that's just not in my. I'm not gonna say my wheelhouse because I do love animated films.
I'm with you. Like
I haven't been like
not well versed.
I'm not well versed in like anime culture. I'm not like, you know, I don't think I've seen an anime movie, and it's not from lack of like not wanting to. It's just like I don't know where to start. Like there's so much out there, and like you ask people and be like, oh, you need to watch this or you need to watch that. Like there's no way for me to like just to jump into anime because I don't know where to start with something.
It's hard to ask somebody who's an anime fan, you know, because like they have a bunch of stuff that I will say I'm in the same boat as you guys, but my wife's a big fan. And I've actually seen Your Name that he referenced, which I'm not an anime guy. I actually have a stigma like for anime movies. I like when I was a kid, they just weirded me out, and to this day, I still feel weird watching them. But Your Name is actually it's actually very good, and I think if you watch that one, and Akira is another one that I think you would really like Akira.
Akira's dope, Gabe. I
But
think
Your Name is very good too. It's interesting, but it's good. I actually really enjoyed it.
What's the other one that is also? It's more like like adult good. Is it Perfect Blue? I think that's what it's called. That's another one that people really dig. That's I think a bit more geared towards adults. But Gabe, you should jump into anime. I know Fabian, our friend, sponsor the show, producer, wanted us to do like a whole anime thing and cover. And there is a ton of anime to cover. It's like, where do you start? But there's a lot of quality there too, and has some of the best storytelling. I'm not a big anime guy, but like the stuff I do see, I'm like, I end up enjoying it. Like I dig it. But yeah, Jay, I want to see that. I saw the trailer when I saw Dungeons and Dragons, and I thought it looked beautiful. Mike, I'm with you. Yeah, the 90s for sure. What about you, Connor? What is your favorite decade of movies?
It's a really hard one for me. So it's funny when you talk about like 80s movies, like I don't think of, there are some of those that you referenced that I do think of, like the SNL movies or the SNL cast movies. There's actually a lot of other movies I think about when I think of the 80s, like Mel Brooks is a big one in the 80s. And of course, my two favorite Star Wars movies came out in the 80s. Better Off Dead is my favorite comedy of all time that came out in the 80s. So I like a lot about 80s filmmaking. One thing that ties the 80s and the 90s for me, and I know it's really cheap to say, but one thing that does that is that the 90s really saw this explosion of movies that are really, it's weird that I like these, so I get that, but I'm kind of a weird fan of movies that just spend a shitload of money on marketing. You know, like that just like you see it everywhere. Like one that I can think of is we covered it on our show, like Batman Forever. You know, like you could not go anywhere without seeing something for that movie. They had like Slurpee cups at 7-Eleven. They had toys at McDonald's. They had tie-ins with every product, and like those kind of movies add to nostalgia for me, and I'm a big nostalgia guy. So the 80s and 90s for me are like very close, which makes me like disqualify them altogether because, you know, that's cheap. I can't say 80s and 90s is tied for my favorite. So I'd say the 2010s, honestly. You know, I think you just had this huge increase in quality in one of the genres that I think has been an extremely important renaissance, which was horror. You know, you had this huge swing in the 80s of horror movies that were extremely popular. And then the 90s really it was dominated by like movies like Scream, and it sort of got sanitized for a while, and it almost killed the genre off. But then you got this upswing of movies, like you mentioned, The Conjuring, the Insidious sequels, you know, everything that came out. I mean, like even movies like Don't Breathe, Sinister, and all of these movies, like late 2000s into the 2010s, had this huge increase in quality. Like Jordan Peele's movies coming out, and outside of horror movies as a whole, I think there was a lot of like great stuff that either slipped through the cracks or was a popular movie. So I would say, like, if I had to be cheap about it, I would say 80s and 90s would be tied for my favorite. But since I don't want to do that, I'm going to roll with the 2010s.
Good answer. I like the answer.
Like
and there's a ton of movies in the 2010s that you can, besides horror.
Dude, Lady Bird for me is a huge one.
I love Lady Bird.
Love Lady Bird. Booksmart, I loved. There's a ton of movies. So yeah, great time period. Blade Runner 2049. I forgot to mention that's one of my favorite movies ever. So that's up there as well for me.
Gabe, have you seen Blade Runner 2049?
I did.
I'm curious what you think of
Dave Bautista.
Ana de Armas is in it.
Yes,
Dave Bautista has like he has one of the coolest scenes in that movie. That opening scene is so tense with him.
See, like when I think of like 90s movies, like on my end, right? For some reason, I go because of just the way I grew up in the city and me being such a hip hop fan. When I think of like 90s and like what powerful movies in the 90s, like Menace to Society, Boys in the Hood, like powerful, urban movies, right? Even Friday, as much as that's a comedy, and going back to Friday, like that shit was powerful. when you saw that. Like that's like the type of movies I love. So like when you go into like in the last couple of years, like Black Klansman, I thought was like that's
Great
Spike
film.
Lee, great film. The Chicago 7, the one with Daniel Kaluuya, I forget the name. The
Jesus and the Black Messiah?
Jesus and the Black
Yeah.
Messiah. Like those powerful movies, like those are movies I always feel like are pushing film forward, especially for, black, brown, white, whatever the case may be. I feel like they push the, movies forward with that.
No, I agree. Even the 2020s, I mean, we're very early into it. COVID aside, I think 2022 gave us some of the coolest movies I've seen in a decade. I think 2022 is very strong. Jay, we can talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. Maybe we should talk a little bit more. I don't know.
a little, it's funny.
It is in the thumbnail after all.
Every episode we've done, like, we'll do a flashback to like a movie that, like, people kind of hate. We talk about that movie for 5 minutes, and the tangents are just like endless. Like White Chicks. How long did we talk about White Chicks last week? 2 minutes, maybe.
2 minutes. It was like 9.
I liked that conversation.
It was like what, like the 58-minute mark. I'm like, hey, should we talk about White Chicks?
It's like, it's kind of bad. Yes, that fight is cool, and I think anything with Optimus in any of these movies, I think works, and it's because they have the original voice actors.
Which is why you gotta watch the 5th one when fucking Optimus comes in riding fucking Grimlock into fucking Korea. Like I don't even know how the fuck they got into Korea, but whatever. They go from like a very foresty area, like middle of nowhere Korea, and all of a sudden they're like in a very populated Korea. Like,
but why is it as long as The Godfather?
They have to set up the entire story,
All right, guys. I don't want to hold you all up for too long. I know it's getting late on your end. Gabe, is there anything you got for Connor? Anything you want to talk about before we sign off?
Just one last thing. What'd you think of WrestleMania?
Night 1, I had a good time. Night 2, I didn't have an awful time. Raw after WrestleMania kind of ruined Night 2 of WrestleMania for me. I don't know if anybody out there watching watched anything with WrestleMania, but I watched WrestleMania after not watching the shows Raw and SmackDown for a while. I was catching up with like the Bloodline stuff. I thought it was really interesting. I saw they brought back the LWO, which was like,
I got the t-shirt
for
coming.
life. I wanted to order it, but I don't know if it's appropriate for me to wear it. So I don't
listen.
I don't know if I can. I'm selling you yes. If you want to get the LWO shirt, go get it. I'm doing it. But I thought like one thing that I will say is like match quality was very, very high at WrestleMania, and it made me want to watch Raw. But then I watched that Raw and I was just like, this isn't for me. This is why I stopped watching. So I don't know.
I think I'm with you. Night 1 was the strongest, which I think was the SmackDown night, which they had all the SmackDown.
It was a lot more SmackDown gear.
And then Night 2 was a little bit weak. I really thought they were gonna give it the fucking at the end again with Roman Reigns, but whatever.
I wish they could have just done something a little cooler with it. Like, like we talk about movies, like movies is a big thing that all of us love. You have to, when you're telling a story, you have to either hit a beat or you have to give us a reason to think that we want to keep watching it.
Right.
And I think that was a wasted opportunity. Everything that we watch is about consuming it as either an entertaining story or just entertaining overall. Right. And I was not entertained when I saw where it was going. So,
with Jay, I agree. The Rhea Flair fight was exceptional. That should have been the ender of Night 1. But they went with I forget who they went with for Night 1. But yeah, it is what it is.
I know nothing about wrestling.
I want to drop this right now, and I don't know if Jay's going to agree with me. I don't know if you're going to agree with me. But man, I for my entire life have been a huge Shane McMahon fan. And the dude comes back, the coolest one of that entire family, comes back and blows out his quad in 3 seconds. It was the most disappointing thing I've ever seen in my life.
I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know. I was like, what well, he fell? I thought it was all part of a bit, right?
I thought at first it was. It didn't look that bad.
No, it didn't look that bad. all he did was jump up, he landed, and I was like, oh, then Snoop Dogg comes in and Snoop Dogg saves a little bit. But I was just like, what the fuck? And then hearing later on, like he blew out his quad. I was like, but they never mentioned it in the show. It was like he never came back.
No, they didn't. It was insane. I have a podcast pitch. Let's make a podcast where we make Tony watch the Attitude Era. I think that put him in Raw's War in 1998, and let's just go episode by episode.
Is that like the Rock? Is that
it's like Rock,
like the Rock,
Stone Cold Steve Austin, all the
big, American badass Undertaker.
I played a lot of I played a lot of Raw. I've never watched wrestling.
I have been watching it my entire life, and so it's like I'm wearing a wrestling hat now. I'm a big wrestling fan, so I always get suckered into talks or watching it again.
And I stopped watching. I will watch WrestleMania, but I will like watch like TikToks or YouTube clips of like Raw or SmackDown. Like I can't sit down and watch 3 hours of Raw.
God,
or 4 hours of SmackDown. Like I can't do
time for that. I mean,
right. So I'll just watch here and there, and I'll try to keep updated with what's going on. So that way, when I get into WrestleMania, I sort of know the storylines.
Yeah. You do your best, but
you do your best.
Oh well.
All right.
There
you have it. We have a little bit of wrestling talk. I know nothing about wrestling, but I think that might be a great podcast. We sit me down. We watch some classic wrestling.
Just show him like the most fun wrestling shows, like like the highest rated wrestling shows. Just sit Tony down and just hear his thoughts, explain questions that he definitely will have.
Right?
Why are women being degraded so badly when we're watching a show from the '90s? I don't know, but yeah, we'll have a blast.
Or when we get together in Atlanta, we could just all have like a fatal 4-way.
Yeah.
It sounds gross the way you say it, though.
It does kind of
somehow make it sound sexual.
Outside of wrestling, like a lot of wrestling things just don't sound right. So,
are you saying you don't want me to smack you down in a fatal 4-way?
No, I don't want any of that. I do not. I don't like the sound of that. Anyway, this night has been a lot of fun. It's been very crazy. Whoever comes in listening to this later on, you're going to think that there's something wrong with us for sure. Because
there might be, honestly.
There might be something wrong with us.
There's something wrong.
It's 2 hours of nonsense, which is good nonsense.
So this is if there ever was an episode where it's 2 hours of nonsense, this is the episode. Last week was nonsense. This episode, I couldn't even describe it. So what the fuck were you talking about?
There must be something in the water in Chicago. That's all we have.
You know what? Though? It started like very timidly. Like we were unsure what to say.
It was like a first date. It was the first date thing.
It was like a first date thing. And then all of a sudden, Sugar Shack. Boom.
Sugar Shack. Awesome. Sugar Shack was the turning point.
We had to slowly reel Connor into the new identity of the show.
I'm in it.
Just go like, what do you think of strip clubs? Huh? What do you think of porn? like it's just like not as soon as he comes on, but at least 25 minutes in.
Butter me up a little bit before we get into the dirt. I get it.
Exactly. Okay. Anyway, thank you all for joining us, Jay.
Thank you so much again. Travis. And again, Mike Jones, if you listen to it, reach out to me, and I'll send you the Scream 6 poster.
Yes, and to the Sugar Shack afterward. We will go to the Sugar Shack.
Yeah.
But anyway, guys, make sure to check out Not That Bad. And when's the new episode dropping? Is that next Thursday?
That's this upcoming Thursday. So yeah, this next Thursday coming up is when the next episode drops. We'll have yours truly, Mr. Tornero, on the show talking about American Pie 2, which I'm excited to talk about.
I'm excited to listen. That sounds great. Gabe, we got anything to add before we close out?
No, guys. At this point, I'm all talked out. I'm just gonna go ahead and
there's gonna be a lot of searches for the Sugar Shack after this.
Yeah.
I hope we get sponsored by them.
We should all wear some Sugar Shack t-shirts.
Go to amateur night on a Wednesday.
We'll reach out to them. See what we can make happen.
Make sure to like, comment, subscribe. If you can, share. Check out Not That Bad. New episodes on every other Thursday, right?
Yes, every other Thursday.
All right. I'm going to have a link down below in the comments. Connor, thank you for joining us once again, man. And we'll see everybody again next week as we talk about something that I'll figure out on Thursday. And we'll post it on Friday. But thanks again, and we'll see you next time.